Likely a digital COVID certificate that proves if you've had a jab or a negative test. Well, many of the arguments have been around its use to travel or perhaps attend a big event or venue. But what about going back to workplaces like the offices that lie empty here in the city? Well, now new research shows that half of workers think that employers will require mandatory vaccination to return to work in person. Well, that research came from the employment law advice company and HR software provider BrightHR, whose chief executive, Alan Price, now joins me. Alan Price, morning to you. This sounds like it might be quite a popular policy with a lot of employees.
I think employees want to see the UK reopen, and having evidence of your vaccination is a big first step.
But, do you think that employers themselves will be keen to press ahead with it? They might find themselves at the receiving end of all sorts of accusations of discrimination.
I think depending on which sector you're in, a lot of employers have already started discussing it with the staff. We found from the research that over 17% of employers had already spoken to their staff about a vaccine policy or making their vaccination records available. I think it's important if you think about hospitality reopening, nearly half of those that we surveyed thought that sharing their vaccination status or having a vaccination policy with their employer was important. But more so, it's the education piece, and employers need to be discussing it with their staff. And the more employers discuss it with their staff, we find it's less of an issue.
But legally speaking, if I'm an employer, am I allowed to insist that an employee has a vaccination certificate before returning to work?
Not at the moment, Ian, but there is government consultation with regards to the domiciliary and care sector about making such a policy enforceable. But at the moment, no. And it's good practice for employers to have general discussions with their employees. And obviously, if they're in hospitality or they're working with in the care sector, then it would be a good idea. And from the employees that we spoke to in that sector, they don't see an issue with it. Legally standing, employers can't currently require their employees to provide proof of their vaccination or require them to take it. But again, through tools such as Backtrack Lite and others, you can obviously educate your employees and have a good conversation with them.
Do you worry that this issue might drive a wedge between colleagues in the workplace?
I think if there is an open and frank discussion now, I think if we don't talk about it to our employees and make them aware of why it's required again, look a lot at the hospitality sector, massively affected during the pandemic, to enable them to reopen, to give their employees confidence, to give the customers confidence, a vaccination passport or sharing that vaccination status goes a big step forward.
And are employers doing enough to communicate about this with employees right now?
Not at the moment, no. Just over 15% of employees actually spoken to their staff about the policy, even though 1 in 2 employees are expecting their employers to have a vaccination policy. But a lot of employees are in the dark at the moment.
So if I'm an employer, what sort of things should I be saying to people right now about the return to the workplace and this issue in particular?
Well, from the research, we found that over 80% of the 5,000 employees that we spoke to thought the employer would keep the workplace safe, but there's nothing tangible in that regard. So some of the advice that we've been given, very simple practical steps, such as providing e-learning, providing a video of the workplace. Obviously, a lot of employees before the pandemic or the last lockdown had a COVID secure workplace. With the onset of the vaccination programme, they've got 2 sources to keep themselves safe.
All right, Alan Price, have to leave it there. Good to talk to you. Thank you.